Center Live. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Chris Warren.
And I'm Jen Carfagno. We're continuing to follow a lot of very humid air across the south. Our storm specialist, Dr. Greg Postel, with us today, talking about that and the fact that winter is not over just yet.
That's right. I mean, the fog is a sign right now that winter's taking a break. We got some warm and humid air coming northward, but that's not it. You're right. Winter may be coming back.
I think a break is key right there when you say it's a break. It's not over.
That's exactly right. And the warm weather, very warm.
Yes.
You know, it's been so cold lately.
If you were up at midnight in Boston, it was 50. But temperatures have been dropping.
That's the shorts weather for you.
Well,
right
yeah,
there.
but now we are going to be back in a little bit of a cold snap here into the northeast.
So here's a look at what we're expecting here this weekend in Boston, and this is how it's going to play out. The northern jet stream is going to bring in some of that cooler air.
Yeah, so temperatures in the teens again overnight tonight, tomorrow morning. You're waking up to that in places like Boston and Providence. And so we've got the cold, and then we bring in the moisture. And as we get you through the weekend, all the rain that we're dealing with in the south, that moisture is going up into the northeast along with the low pressure.
And we're going to see this storm develop inland here, and you have the two factors there. It's the cold air and the moisture, but they're going to be there at the same time.
Exactly.
That's the big deal.
All about
here.
the dance. Do they meet up? Well, as we get you into Saturday, we will see rain up all the way into Connecticut and Rhode Island. However, northern Massachusetts up into Vermont, New Hampshire, certainly Maine, there'll be enough cold air.
And then this is Sunday. Boston, once again, right in that middle kind of area. So it's going to be either rain or snow.
And the models differ too. I mean, let's look at one model. This is the GFS, the American model. And it does have some snow. In fact, the chance for maybe 3 to 5 inches of snow, even down to near Boston, much more farther north.
But if you plan on going into northern New England, there's going to be a lot of snow, at least according to the GFS model.
This is a decent spring snowstorm. And when you look at the European model, it too has a decent amount of snow up into Maine, more than a foot of snow. But Boston, the European model, is putting out less than an inch.
Yeah, even farther north with that snow line here. All right, so here's a look now. The snowiest seasons in Boston, counting up. The 1995-96 does hold that record here. Now, to break that record this year, 2 inches. To tie it less than 2 inches.
And it is not a guarantee. And I'll tell you what, it can snow all the way, and it has all the way into April, but
2.
We'll see.
That's what you need here
There's a chance.
in
There's
Boston
a chance.
to be the snowiest season. And it's going to be the snowiest season a lot of people are going to remember in Boston.
It's all about perspective, right?
Yes.
For sure. This is the season you got all your snow at once is what happened. Boston for us, we get cold overnight tonight, and then we get back up into the low 40s Saturday and Saturday night. We keep it warm enough to rain, but then Sunday is the iffy time.
And this is the thing, too. I mean, it's obvious when you look at this that it's going to be rain on Saturday because the temperature's 41. Saturday night, 36, still rain. But then it says 40, rain or snow. So what we're not seeing here is the overnight temperature going into Monday. So things will cool down, and you can also get snowflakes coming down from the sky with the surface temperature above freezing.
And there's still snowpack, by the way, on the ground, and that sort of helps refrigerate that lowest level of air. Bangor, Maine.
Different story.
Yes.
It's a done deal. We're looking at snow here, at least Saturday night into Sunday. Snow developing Saturday, but again, temperature is going to start off into the
I saw a
30s.
picture from Caribou last weekend from the National Weather Service office. It could have been the Arctic. I mean, snow as far as the eye could see.
And you're getting, this is your average, what you would normally see, and 25 inches more than average for Caribou.
Bangor as well, 121. I mean, our average is 55 inches, 121.
More than doubling what you would expect
this weekend.
And again, a lot of this happening in a short amount of time, so a lot of what's happened this season is still on the ground.
Even if you don't get to #1, Boston, you're certainly going to remember this winter for sure. All right, so we're talking about a lack of snow in the west, and it's a critical concern that, and Mike, of course, is expecting some showers and storms today, but not expecting a lot of severe weather, and that's all part of this next story we want to tell you about, which is the sort of lack of different weather types, lack of rain in the west, lack of tornadoes in the east.
And they are related.
They're all related.
So let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's talk about how dry it's been in the west, because it's been dry now, not just for the last couple of months, but really for the last couple of years. And they've been suffering this long-standing drought. You can see the latest drought monitor for much of the west shows in drought, and California is even worse.
Yeah, today is Drought Monitor Day. We get the newest updates in. 3 months ago, we had 55% of exceptional drought. Now we're at 40%. Slight improvements in Northern California, but the whole state is still in some kind of drought, and that worst drought category is so glaring.
That's right. That's the darkest shade in red is an exceptional drought. That's 40% of the state. And you'd think, you know, we've had kind of a pattern, a little bit, a hint of some Pacific energy coming into California, but it really hasn't shown up. Look at San Francisco.
0.2.
That's it.
0.02, excuse me, 0.02.
Right,
was it.
and that's with a little bit of help from the jet stream that's coming off the Pacific. So it's trying, but it's not being very successful in getting the rain into California right now.
And this is coming at a time when you would expect the rain, and each month we go now closer to summer, less and less likely. You can see the months down here.
That's right. As you go month by month, I mean, the actual climatology goes way down. It gets drier as you head toward the warmer seasons. And, you know, as we move into spring, they're not likely in historical patterns to get rain. So it's going to be harder and harder to come by as we move through the couple months.
So you ask why we've had such a dry winter, and it's because of this.
Yeah.
The pattern that we have literally been stuck in.
This is right. The December through February upper level pattern has featured that ridge in the west and the trough in the east. It's actually been really a part of our weather in North America for years, really, for more than way beyond December through February. And it actually is in part related to the tropical sea surface temperature anomalies and the unusual distribution of thunderstorms that's been ongoing in the West Pacific. But this is what we've seen so often. And what we need to get rain in the Pacific is this.
This is what we would like to see to get rain in the winter months in the West.
And this, if this was located over the middle part of the country, it would be a different story, wouldn't it?
Exactly right. Going back to what both of you guys are saying, let's sort of parse it out here. In order to get a really substantial rain in the West, you need a big trough coming in that will bring in a lot of juice from the Pacific and unload it in places that desperately need it. But a lot of times when you have these systems coming into the west, they move east, get out over the plains, and in the
good and bad.
right, the yin yang.
And you get the storms,
right?
And the tornadoes.
That's exactly right.
So we haven't seen this either.
We haven't.
No.
We haven't. So the drought in the west, related to this pattern, has also been related to the drought in tornado frequency.
So it's essentially what causes rain in the west will lead to tornadoes in the east.
It certainly can. It certainly
It's
can.
related. It's related.
Yeah, and look at these numbers, guys. It's pretty obvious. In the March to date, so far this year, March 2015, the 20-year average number of tornadoes in the lower 48 is 25. We have seen this March 0. And you can do the same game with 2015 as a whole. And look at those numbers.
And you look back, 2004 was the last year that we had seen fewer tornadoes to date. It doesn't necessarily mean anything about the future, but we look, you know, just looking back at the past and relate it all, we can see how the lack of rain in the West has contributed to a lack of storms in the middle of the country.
Not only tornadoes, but hail as well. Look at some of these stunningly quiet hail season we're in. Really, this is unbelievable.
4 reports of hail so far this year. This to me was surprising.
It's the middle of March. What is going on?
By now, the average for now is 246 reports of hail at this point in the season. You get storms in January and February and March. It happens. We haven't seen it happen much.
Our severe weather season here in the South really begins in February, and we've seen essentially none of it. And many places in the plains have seen none of it, so hence we've got those very dire statistics. So good, in a good sense, right, for lack of severe weather in the plains. But, you know, today there is a shot of some severe weather, but it doesn't look like a big threat, really.
It's not a big outbreak type of situation. You know, maybe some strong, damaging winds. There is the chance of a spin up of a tornado, and really just an isolated chance of hail today.
Right.
All right, now we're going to take a look at some of the temperatures coming up, and when you look at the